we have a 3 profit target system here. All right, so we're going to have what we call 3 order sets here. And let me open up. So, this section here is what we call the order sets here, right? And you can notice it's segmented, into groups here. So, right, so we would have group 1 and then group 2 and group 3 and so on and so forth. So, and that basically, and I'm explaining this because a lot of people don't understand this concept, that if you want to take profits at different levels, right? So in this example, we have a profit target at 2 ATRs, right? The second profit target's at 4 ATRs. And then the third profit target is what's called in the industry a runner, right? So there's no actual profit target. It's trailing stop loss. So that way the profit can hopefully run as far as possible with this trailing stop loss there. And so if you want different profit targets, that's why the NinjaTrader's ATM and also why BlackBird, has order sets. So that way you can, create different profit targets, right? So, all right, so we're going to have 3 order sets, and then really the question is about setting up the trailing here. All right, so there's no trailing until the first profit target gets hit, right? All right, and then so once the first profit target, our 2 ATR profit targets hit, then we begin the trailing here, and so we can see the trailing starts at the 20 EMA, right? So that'll be the pink line there. And, well, actually, first let's take a step back. So the stop loss starts, it's placed at the 100 EMA. And so that's the darker red line there. All right, and then we're going to tighten that stop loss up quite a bit to the 20 EMA, right, after the first profit target gets hit. So, and then the second one, after the second profit target is hit, then we're going to loosen up the trailing here, and it's going to switch back to the 50 EMA. All right. Now, one thing to note here, right, is, as we can see on the chart, I would imagine that typically the 50 EMA is going to be behind the 20 EMA. So by default, BlackBird is not going to move the stop loss backwards, because that goes against the traditional, wisdom of using a trailing stop loss, is you don't widen your stop loss. So by default, what's going to happen is the stop loss is going to sit on the 20 EMA until the 50 EMA catches up to the 20 EMA. And then the stop loss will start trailing the 50 EMA, once that 50 has caught up to the same price at where the 20 was when the trailing switched over to the 50. So let's see if we have a good example here. Let's say there, our profit target, right? Our last profit target gets hit right there. So basically on this bar here. There, so our profit target's hit somewhere there, right? And so this is where our 20 EMA is. So what's happening? So what will happen is the stop loss will sit at this price until the 50 EMA catches up to it. So we can see during this pullback here, the 50 is slowly catching up and slowly moving its way downward. And so it looks like approximately, where is it? Yeah, approximately on that bar, it looks like the 50 EMA finally, goes below where the 20 EMA was when the last right, when the last profit target got hit. Now, Dean, if your intention is to actually have your stop loss move backwards, or basically the correct term is if you want your stop loss to widen, widen, because it'd be widening, because if your stop loss is currently right here, right, when it's following the 20, and then you want it to jump backwards, right, jump backwards up to here, right, then you're widening your stop loss because price is down here, and so you'd be increasing the distance of your stop loss away, so you'd be widening it. So if your intention is to widen the stop loss, yeah, then let me know. But otherwise, I'll just go with the traditional standards for stop loss, which is your stop loss just sits there until your other indicator finally catches up. So if it ever does catch up, so that's kind of the key there, right? All right. So anyways, so there's the question, and so with that, let's start building. All right, so again, the focus is really on this stop loss trailing here, so I'll just use a market entry order there for all of these order sets. So our first order has a 2 ATR. So there we go. We can just use the quick list there. All right, and our stop losses, they all start at the 100 EMA. So let's open up the stop loss list here, and let's see. I will pick the parabolic SAR to start with there, because the parabolic SAR is an indicator. I'll use that one, and then we'll go into the initial placement and replace the parabolic SAR with the EMA100. All right, so there's the EMA, and adjust the period to 100. There we have it. All right, and we're done. So there you go. So that stop loss will just sit at the EMA 100 there. So, all right, so now we can move on to the second order set that has a 4 ATR profit target. So let's go to the order sets, and we're going to go down to the copy from and take a little shortcut, and we'll just copy the order set A, and then we can open up the profit target and go into the initial placement, and we will increase our ATR offset there. So we'll increase it from 2 up to 4. So there we go. So there's our 4 ATR profit target. And so now we need to implement the stop loss trailing. Here we go. So here's the trailing that we're going to implement there. Right, so we'll start following the 20 EMA there. So let's go into the stop loss here and go into onto the trailing actions tab. So we're going to switch over to the trailing tab. And we need to set the mode to custom there, because we're going to start defining some custom trailing rules here. All right, so let's add a trailing rule, and let's give this a name. All right, so we're going to start trailing. Oops. Let's see, start trailing the EMA. There we go. So we'll start trailing the EMA20 after profit target 1 is hit. Or actually, I guess instead of calling it profit target 1, let's call it profit target A. There we go. All right, so this is going to be profit target A, right? Our 2 ATR is profit target A. Simply because, the order sets are automatically named order set A, order set B, order set C. So, all right, so we need to wait for the profit target A to get hit before the trailing it kicks in, right? So that is what we call a triggering event, right? So waiting for profit target A to get hit, right, is the trigger that we need to occur, and then the trailing begins. So in the triggers, we're going to use order status changed, right? We're looking for the, status of the profit target order to change, right? And so the order that we want to monitor is the profit target for A, right? There we go. And, what status are we looking for? We're looking for it to get filled, right? The other change is canceled. You could also monitor if an order gets canceled as well. But yeah, so we'll leave the mode to filled, right? So there you go. So once profit target A gets filled, right, that's our triggering event. And then the action will kick in, and the action is what does the trailing. So the action is we're going to move the stop loss order to, right? And where are we going to move it to? Well, we're going to open up this menu, and this menu allows us to decide where the order gets moved to. So we're going to move it to the EMA20. So that's an indicator. So we're going to change the mode, right, the menu, to the indicator menu mode here. And then there's the indicator. So we'll open that up and scroll down. There's our EMA. And put a 20 period in. There we go. And there I have it. There's our EMA20. All right. So, let's see here. So, and the repeat. All right. So this is really kind of the tricky part of this question here, is getting the repeat correct. Let's see. Repeat until. So this is actually kind of interesting because I don't think I've ever had this exact type of question before. So all right, yeah. So it looks like we want, right, this trailing roll that to follow the EMA20, right? It has a limited lifespan, so to speak. So think of the repeat as like the lifespan. How long does this rule last for? And so in this particular case, normally your repeat is just going to be set to indefinitely. Normally you can just allow a trailing rule to just keep running indefinitely. However, because we have a unique situation where we want our stop loss to basically, in a way, almost kind of go backwards, right? But it's not going backwards, actually. Let me see what Dean has, see if he answered me. All right, so Dean actually does want the stop loss to widen. Okay, all right, yeah, that's going to change. Yeah, that's going to change. Let's see here. No, actually, that's not going to change my strategy here. So, all right, but we're going to go and make some other adjustments here so that the stop loss can actually move backwards. So, all right, so, but still, following the EMA20, right, it does need to, this trailing roll does need to have a ending point, right? It needs to, this trailing roll needs to be turned off at some point, and that it needs to be turned off when profit target 2 gets hit here. So we still need to use the repeat until, and then so now we're looking for a triggering event to tell when to stop the repeating, right? So in other words, when do we turn this this trailing roll off? When does it become deactivated? When does the repeating end come to an end? And again, we're going to use, let's see here, we're going to use order status changed, right? And this time, we're going to look for profit target B to be hit, right? So obviously, right, our second profit target is B. So when that is hit, there, then that's when the repeating comes to an end. There. All right. And so now, so there's the beginning of trailing the EMA20, right? So it has a beginning by using the order status changed, right, trigger event. So when the profit target A gets filled, then we're going to follow the EMA20, and then the repeat will end this trailing roll again when the profit target for B gets filled. So, all right, so now we need another trailing roll here. And let's just copy that name. All right, we'll rename this to trail the EMA50 when B is hit. Okay, so our trigger event, again, is we're looking for an order status to change. And again, that's going to be our profit target for B. Right, so when our second profit target is filled, there we go. And most likely, if you're using multiple contracts here, then you probably want the mode to be set to if any are filled, because you never know, right? Your profit targets might get a split fill. So kind of depends on how many contracts you're trading, or if you're trading an instrument that doesn't have a lot of volume in it. So, all right. So when profit target B gets filled, then we want to start trailing the EMA50. So we're going to set the action up to follow the EMA50. So, right, so we switch the mode over to indicator value once again. And we can see the EMA20 is already in there for us since we used it once before. But this time we're going to switch it over to the EMA50 now. Now, this time, we actually want to move in both directions here. So, right, the allowed movement, this is one of the requirements to allow your stop loss to move backwards. So that's one of them. There is another setting we have to adjust as well in order to get our stop loss to go from the 20 backwards to the 50, right, or to widen. So, and then at that point, the repeat, this time, the repeat is set to indefinitely, right? So once our stop loss is set to trail the 50, yeah, it's just going to follow the 50 indefinitely, until it gets hit. So yeah, there we go. There's our two trailing rolls that we need, right? And so the main setting that we have to adjust to allow stop losses to widen is we need to enable this. So in the risk management, right, because your stop loss is managing your risk. So in risk management, we need to, excuse me, check the allow widening of stop loss during a trade, right? So this is what disables that default behavior of all stop losses to only tighten. And never widen. So, right. So in your trailing, so you have two requirements. So make sure you enable the widening, and then, as I showed you in your trailing rules, in the action, you have to adjust the allow movement as well. So the allow movement can, I meant to set that to both directions. So let's see here. Oh, no, actually, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong rule here. So with direction only. So following the EMA50, so that trailing rule, there we go. That one is set to both directions. So the allowed movement, right? Yep, allows your stop loss. It is another way to control your stop loss from widening or tightening. So, all right. So there's that rule. And so now we're ready to create our third order set here, right? So our third order set has no profit target, right? It's just going to have the trailing stop loss in it. So let's go to our order set and let's copy from B, right? Obviously, we definitely want to copy order B because remember, the stop loss for B has all the trailing rules in it, right? The stop loss for A doesn't have any trailing rules in it. So we want to make sure that we copy B. There we go. And we can just delete the profit target. And there we go. So now order set C is now our runner with no profit target. And if we open up our stop loss there, right, we can see the initial placement is set to the EMA100. And then on the trailing actions tab there, right, there's our two trailing rules right there. And so we're good to go. All right, so there's that. And so now let's see if we can actually test it. That's going to be the tricky part. Trying to test this out. Let's see. Well, all right, yeah, I need to switch my data feed connection here. So let's disable BlackBird and disconnect. And then let's use the simulated data feed. And then we'll enable BlackBird again. All right. Let's see. Yeah, let's play this out as a short trade here. So actually, this might work out a little better as a long trade. Yeah, let's give this a shot as a long trade. All right. So I just need the market to move a little bit higher above the EMA100. So we're not too close. That way our stop losses aren't too close to the market. Let's see. All right. So while I'm waiting for the market to move up here, let me take a look at the Q&A window real quick. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah, Dean offered a little clarification to me on the trailing rules there. So let me neutralize the trend. Let's go in and adjust this here. So, all right. Yeah, so I kind of read into this a little too much here. So the second order set here actually isn't going to fall back. It's not going to fall back to the EMA50. Only the third order set, so the stop loss for the runner, is only going to fall back to the EMA50. All right, so let's go into our stop loss here for B, and we can take this trailing roll here and delete that out. There we go. We'll remove that, and then to set the repeat for the trailing roll for the EMA20, we're going to adjust the repeat to indefinitely. We'll put that back to indefinitely. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Quick little adjustment there. All right, I think we're ready to take a long trade. There we have it. All right, so there's our stop loss sitting on the EMA 100. And so now let's move the market up. All right, we're almost at, there's target 1 hit. And so now the EMA20 has caught up. And so now our stop losses will start following the EMA20. And actually, yeah, let me neutralize the trend here a little bit. That way we can get at least a couple bars with the EMA20 moving higher before that target gets hit. There we go. Our stop loss just moved. Perfect. There we go. Good. So our stop loss is trailing. Okay, good. So the EMA50 is still below the 20. So once our second profit target's hit, yeah, then we're waiting to see the stop loss C move backwards. All right, there we go. Both the stop losses moved once again with the EMA20. And we're just about there to get our last target hit. And bingo, there you go. Our stop loss just jumped backwards to the EMA50. There we have it. All right, Dean, there you go. This is kind of a unique one here. So let me save this out. Let's see here. Yeah, let's do a save and close. All right, I think that's a good enough name there. So we'll save that out. And good. There we go. So we have one file for today.